you can eat and drink and go out and do whatever you want, and you're fine. But it's starting to impact me physically.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
So I've gotten into a routine where I'm getting a little workout in every night. Nothing insane, but just some cardio, a little core, So shout out to the 49ers because I had done my core stuff and I was getting ready to get on the elliptical.
Okay.
And I was watching the TGL, by the way, that indoor golf league.
Oh,
incredible. Shout out to Bay GC. They're 1-0. Let's go, boys. But I was watching that, and then the Warriors Heat game was going to come on. So I was going to watch that and do my cardio because I hate cardio. It's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And the 49ers, the news broke that they fired Nick Sorensen, their defensive coordinator, right before I was going to start my cardio. Because if that had happened 3 minutes into the workout, I would have gotten off the elliptical. I would have done the riding, and then I'm probably not getting back on.
Oh, yeah.
So salute to the timing and not doing it at 9 p.m. when I'm like in bed.
Oh, yeah.
So shout out to the 49ers. They have fired Nick Sorensen. Probably the right move, especially since Tim Kawakami reported that there were people in the building that just felt like he wasn't ready for the job.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Like you always hate to hear that. But you know what? I think we're hearing that more and more. And even like the way that the Patriots fired Mayo, like they were very clear. Like we probably put him in a bad situation. He wasn't ready for the job. And that's what's always tough. It's we talked about it with the Sacramento Kings. It's why, like I did not want Doug Christie to get the job 3 years ago when Luke Walton got fired. Alvin Gentry was a right decision then, and this time around, it looks like Doug Christie's the right decision. But now he has 3.5 years of assistant coaching experience. He's got a couple of summers training with people. He's got a summer league roster under his belt. All those things, they matter when you get to the actual position. You're just better prepared. And I think that, admitting that you may have made a mistake and saying that somebody we don't even sounds like the Niners don't even want him to leave the building.
Yeah, they want him to stick around.
Yeah.
They just don't want him to be the defensive coordinator anymore.
Yeah.
So that's really eye-opening to me. Because it means that maybe their discussion with him when they fired him was like a mutual him going, I'm not ready to do this.
Yeah.
Or them saying that and him kind of agreeing, and they're hoping it can be amicable where maybe he sticks around as their special teams coordinator.
Yeah.
Matt Barrows of The Athletic threw that out as a joke a couple weeks ago, and now it looks like that might be the path they're going down.
Well, especially since they fired their special teams coach, which had to go.
Right. And that's just that now you're not firing him. You're basically just moving him to a different coordinator spot, maybe one where he's going to be more comfortable. So here's the deal with this, though. I wasn't necessarily of the mind they were going to fire him. I was leaning toward no, because I think that's a little bit risky. If you're going 2 years in a row now where you're trying to hire a new defensive coordinator and you're getting a new voice in the building and somebody else for the players to get used to, and there's that communication stuff, and is he on the field, is he in the booth, and does the philosophy jibe, et cetera, et cetera. I think you don't make this move with Nick Sorensen. You got to get the next hire right.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot be wrong again, which leads me to believe 2B. Did I say A or 1?
I'm not sure. Either
2B.
2B.
Also, as well, they have somebody in mind and have a good idea that person is going to be available.
You would hope so.
I.e. Robert Saleh. Who is interviewing for the Jacksonville Jaguars head coaching position. He was a linebackers coach there before coming to the 49ers as their defensive coordinator in 2017. He is interviewing with the Jags on next Tuesday.
Okay.
I think I saw was the report. It might have been Thursday. I don't know. I can't read. So my guess is that's plan A for them, but they have a very solid plan B ready to go.
Yeah, that's what you expect. Whether it's Jeff Ulbrich or whether it's somebody else like that that knows that they know from inside the building that's been in the building before. It's like, hey, like whatever we're going to do here, we have very set plan of if we don't get this guy, we've got this guy lined up, and maybe you get both of them in some capacity, whatever.
I don't think it's going to be Brandon Staley. It needs to not be Brandon Staley. I don't think they brought in Brandon Staley to have a different viewpoint on defense. because Kyle Shanahan has a very specific way he wants to do things, and they just wanted a different voice in the building. And he's looking to reestablish himself as a viable head coaching candidate or a viable defensive coordinator candidate. So that's why he's in San Francisco. I don't think the Niners want to do philosophically what he wants to do defensively. So I don't think that's a worry.
I think it's interesting he's not even, like, we haven't heard that he's being considered yet at all for that position.
Yeah, they interviewed him for the defensive coordinator position last year.
Okay.
But then hired him as this assistant head coach, defensive specialist, whatever his title is. I don't even know.
Yeah, I sent you like the cheese touch meme.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I kind of feel like with Staley. He's got the cheese touch right now, and you got to figure out a way to get like the stink of that off you after what happened in with the Chargers, and then what happened this year with the 49ers. It's like you don't want to be that guy that everywhere you go, like mass destruction happens. And I'm not blaming him 100% for anything that happened here in San Francisco, but you know, if you're a coach that ends up being in the wrong position at the wrong spot at the wrong time, again and again and again, you end up like you kind of at some point it might be you. It's probably not you, but it might be you.
Well, he was a really successful defensive coordinator with the Rams in 2020.
Yeah,
but that Rams defense had prime Jalen Ramsey, prime Aaron Donald. And
they were good.
I think Leonard Floyd was on that team. Michael Brockers might have been there. That was just a really, really talented defense. And then he got his head coaching job at the Chargers, and it was just kind of a mess. So I don't know if Brandon Staley is a bad defensive coordinator or not. I just don't think he's going to be an option for them.
Okay.
Just because of the philosophical differences of what he wants to do versus what the 49ers want to do. But yeah, Jeff Ulbrich would make sense. He was Robert Saleh's defensive coordinator with the Jets. That's kind of the route I think they want to go. Somebody with a proven track record who is going to do what, like, jibes with what they want to do defensively.
Totally. And the talent they have on the roster right now and the talent they need to add to the roster.
Yeah.
You want the mentality right, because we keep hearing that, like, oh, you know, the whole a guy who coaches from the back, a guy who coaches from the front line.
Sure.
Yeah, just like in the booth, out of the booth. Like, there's too many things going on here with this. Just go get a really good defensive coordinator that knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And even if it's Robert Saleh, even if it's for a year until he gets another head coaching job,
sure,
it's probably not a bad idea to like try to get him back and establish the culture that you had before, and then build from there.
Yeah, it's the right idea, because you're gonna he has familiarity with Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. Who else is there? Is that it? Nick Bosa and Fred Warner mainly. I think those.
Is that it?
That
That's all
right.
that's left.
If they bring Dre Greenlaw back. That Dre.
Yeah. Well, that's tough.
Hufanga was post Saleh. That was 5 years ago. 2020. That was 5 seasons ago.
So, and in that time, they had Ryans, right?
D'Amico Ryans.
And then
Steve Wilkes.
And then, you had Ryans for 2 years, and then Wilkes, and then three defensive coordinators in 3 years is not great.
So, and this is why I think they need to hire somebody with experience, because like Nick Sorensen was in the building. He had been around, but he was a defensive assistant year one, and then like a passing game specialist and Nichols coach in the next 2 years, and then the defensive coordinator. And it was kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And if you bring in Robert Saleh, you are not only bringing in a coach who has familiarity with your star players, who you know can run a defense, who you know can be effective, but you're also now putting yourself in a position where, okay, you know you only have him for 1, maybe 2 more years, because I think he's going to get another crack at being a head coach. I don't think he was doing a bad job at the Jets. I think the Jets were doing a bad job as an organization. So I think he's going to... But what you need to do, because Robert Saleh struggled out of the gate. 2017, 2018, very ugly, but then 2019, he gets some personnel. He's in year 3, and all of a sudden everything takes off, and he's suddenly a head coaching candidate. They don't have that runway anymore. They don't have the space to just be bad for a couple of years and let a defensive coordinator learn on the fly. So if you bring in Saleh, and the reason D'Amico Ryans was so good out of the gate, he struggled a little bit early on, but by the end of his first season was super successful, and obviously awesome in his second season, and got the head coaching gig with the Texans. But he was like being groomed to be the next defensive coordinator. Whether they explicitly said it or not, that was the goal. And they knew when, hey, we know Robert Saleh's leaving, we know that's the next guy.
Well, I mean, when you're the 49ers, you always have to have the next guy, because you're your team is usually so good that teams are plucking your offensive and defensive coordinators nonstop.
Yep.
And, that's why we see the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. It just keeps going because, every year you just keep losing guys. And that's tough. I mean, you have a guy for a year or two. They do great things. They deserve a promotion to go be a head coach somewhere.
Sure.
Like we don't have that thing where, guys stick around in one spot. Was it Monty Kiffin that was in Tampa Bay for like 17 years or something? That just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's a tough job to be a head coach in the NFL, and success. Like people just gut your team anytime you have success. They gut your second guy like half the time.
Yeah.
And that's a problem too. So
yeah. So bringing Saleh in makes the most sense. Bringing in Jeff Ulbrich makes the most sense. But man, you need to have somebody else in the wings.
Yeah.
Because it was clear that wasn't Sorensen. They said he said after, hey, he's not ready. That's all right. Like, yeah, he kind of got thrown into the fire a little bit.
Yeah.
And it didn't go great. So interested to see how that shapes up. Again, Josina Anderson reporting the 49ers are expected to offer Saleh the job. I don't even know if he'll need to interview. Just offer it.
No, I just like, hey, if you want it, it's yours.
Yeah. Like, my guess is that phone call was placed a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't try to bring him in mid-season when he was let go by the Jets.
They might have.
Where did he go then?
He's an offensive assistant with the Packers.
Oh.
So he gets to just hang out, be a consultant or whatever, gets to go on a playoff run, and then go from there.
Okay.
But trying to change defensive coordinators mid-season, that's just hitting a red button that I don't think they necessarily wanted to hit.
No, I get you.
So that's kind of where that's at. And coach firings are the thing this time of year. I believe we have 6. Raiders, Jags, Jets, Pats, Saints, and Bears.
Yeah, I think, it like Black Monday turned into Black Monday, Tuesday. It just like kept extending.
Yeah.
Like, and even Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I mean, it is what it is. It's just like,
yeah, it was Sunday. Yeah, Sunday for the Pats. That was crazy.
Yeah.
I want to get to this Raiders thing because the Antonio Pierce firing happened after our show.
Yep.
And again, this is largely a little bit the same gripe I had with the Mike Brown firing, which is less that they let him go. It's the circumstances. It's just the machinations and the way it was done.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Raiders had Antonio Pierce go out and do media on Monday and have a team meeting where players, according to reports, were excited about kind of the future and the direction the team was heading.
Okay.
And then you just pull the rug out and fire the coach. Look, if you're going to do that, I don't mind firing Antonio Pierce. Yeah. Same thing I said with Mike Brown. I didn't think it was necessarily the right move, but you kind of had to.
Yeah.
A change needed to happen, and that was the most immediate one to do. So you just got to do it. And it turned out right move so far. Won 5 in a row. They look great. And with the Raiders, maybe they come out on fire next year and everything looks great. But for me, like, if you're going to fire him, do it Monday. Do what? You need to know that this is happening.
Yeah.
How is what changed between Sunday? Like the season didn't change on Sunday. They just lost to the Chargers. You knew you were bad. They didn't miss the playoffs because of Sunday's game, and all of a sudden you got a decision to make. You knew by the middle of the year, like, okay, we see how this thing is shaping up.
No, I agree. I would say the biggest difference I would just like fully point at between Antonio Pierce and Mike Brown is that Mike Brown is a seasoned, really, really good head coach who would turn your franchise around versus a guy who was just really a vibes guy. Like you were hoping that Antonio Pierce was able, and he captured the imagination of the team in the second half of the season and screwed him for draft picks. Like, hey, let's win some games, like the win one for the Gipper type thing. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but there has to be substance there. And I think in year 2, like you didn't really give him anything to work with. Like, hey, you got a choice between O'Connell and Gardner Minshew as your quarterbacks. Yikes. Wait, Desmond Ridder got waived. Let's throw him in the mix. You trade your disgruntled wide receiver midway through the season. You didn't re-sign your running back that led the league in rushing the year or two before.
Yeah.
Like, there were too many things. It's like, hey, if you're going to give Antonio Pierce a job, at least give him some training wheels.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You knew, I said midseason, you knew from the jump what this year was going to be, man.
Yeah, he's out there without a helmet on, riding down a steep hill.
Dude, and that's, and like I said, if they believe that moving on from him is the right move, fine. I don't mind that at all. Just do it on Monday.
Yeah.
You knew then. You realistically knew then, but no, they had meetings and all this stuff. Well, the reporting from this morning makes this a little more interesting.
Oh.
Because it was reported last night that Tom Brady got involved.
Oh, great.
New minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Tom Brady got involved. Mark Davis then had a meeting with Antonio Pierce, and Antonio Pierce was let go.
Oh.
Reporting from this morning from NFL Network, Tom Pelissero, that Tom Brady has spoken with Bill Belichick about joining the Las Vegas Raiders as their head coach.
Oh, boy.
Bill Belichick, of course, just signed with the University of North Carolina to be their head football coach and football czar running that program. Bill Belichick has a $10 million buyout with UNC. So basically, he or whatever NFL team he goes to would have to pay $10 million to get him out of his contract. If he leaves before June 1, 2025.
That's wild to have an out before June 1, 2025. Like, oh, I'm taking over your college program. Except for maybe I'm not. I want a 6-month window to back out.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Kind of crazy.
That's wild.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that Bill Belichick wants to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, where he would have to then work for Tom Brady. Tom Brady would be his boss.
No, Tom Brady's going to sell his stake and come right back and
Stop. No chance. No chance. I mean, not no chance. I don't want to say no. Yeah. I'm not going to say never say never. Small chance. Slim chance. North of 0, south of 1.
Yeah.
But I just don't like and here's the deal. My guess is Bill Belichick is going to want full control. And my guess is that's why he wasn't given a job. Because like he's Bill freaking Belichick, dude.
Well, the Niners offered him the defensive coordinator job.
Offered him whatever job he wanted.
Whatever job you want outside of head coach.
Shanahan said, whatever you want.
Pick your choice.
Yeah, and he went, no, I'm going to go hang out and be a consultant at the University of Washington where my kid's the defensive coordinator and we're just going to do that. And I think that's what I think scared teams away is he wanted because Bill Belichick was the head coach and general manager of the New England Patriots. And I think Bill Belichick wanted to be the head coach and general manager of whatever NFL team he went to. And frankly, that's what you get when you're the head coach of a college team.
Mm-hmm.
You are the decider on all things. So he has that full control. The Raiders did not fire new GM Tom Telesco, which leads me to believe that whatever head coach they bring in has to be like Tom Telesco's choice. Because if you're not doing that, you're doing it wrong regardless if you fire a head coach and not the GM, but that's a separate thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to, whoever they bring in, here's your two options. You can bring in Bill Belichick, but then you gotta jettison Telesco.
Oh yeah.
Or make him president of football ops or whatever
some
title you have to give him.
Position that means nothing.
Sure.
It's fine.
Where Bill Belichick is the GM and has the ultimate say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you keep Telesco as the GM and Bill Belichick is the president of football operations or whatever, who has the final say, whatever it is. Or you say, Belichick, you can be the head coach. You won't have the personnel power you probably want because we have Tom Telesco here. And I don't think he's going to want to do that.
Yeah, if I'm Tom Telesco, I don't want any part of. Just go ahead and pay him and go ahead and show him the door. That's fine, and maybe that's the right decision either way.
If they bring in Belichick,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, look, if you're going to go full Belichick, the one concern that I have is what is Belichick, like 73?
He's old.
It's a big job for to have both of those titles coming into a season and knowing, like, what are you doing, a 5-year deal, a 4-year deal, and how long are you locking him up for?
And if you look at post Tom Brady Patriots, really, honestly, if you look at starting in 2019, Brady's final year with the Pats, they were a one and done in the playoffs. And that was not a very good team. And then Tom Brady goes and has a ton of success in Tampa Bay. So I think I would have some, like, obviously you want Bill Belichick, the coach. He's brilliant. He is so detail oriented in all three facets. He doesn't have like a scheme necessarily. He's so good at adapting his scheme to an opponent, and they're doing different things every week, and they're getting the most out of players that you've never heard of and all that stuff. But on the other hand, that was not a good roster. The Patriots have since 2019, since Tom Brady's final year, they made the playoffs in 2020 with Mac Jones. Well, Mac Jones is now gone. That roster is bereft of talent. They drafted Drake May. That was post Belichick. Drake May looks like the real deal. He looks like a player. But there's no talent on that team.
No.
I'm not handing the reins to that guy. Because whatever it is with talent evaluation, he was not particularly good at it later in his career in New England. And I think, frankly, Tom Brady hid a lot of the roster deficiencies, particularly on offense.
Yeah, well, I think Tom Brady hit a lot of the roster deficiencies for years. Like, I don't think that team had great talent. They always were on the cheap. Always. They always manipulated, like, would trade this guy to go get more draft picks. Like, they were always maneuvering, and like that's some of the brilliance to what they were able to do for all those years, is that they were always kind of piecing it together. They never had top tier wide receivers. They very rarely had top tier running backs. Like, it was always, you build the offensive line, you build the defensive line, and even those guys they cheaped out on quite a few times.
Even Randy Moss, they got it like bargain bin price.
Oh, of course, when he had his blow up seasons.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I did a piece a while back for Niners Wire when I was just a wee contributor at Niners Wire when Chris Peterman, friend of the program, was running that site, and I dove into Trent Baalke's failures in the NFL draft, and I wanted to compare him to other teams, and so I went, well, the Patriots are always good. I'll go look at their draft, and then I went and looked at the Patriots draft history under Belichick.
Yeah,
yuck, it is mid at best.
Yeah.
So I get why the Raiders would call him. I get why Tom Brady would say, hey, I have an idea. But I would also get if Belichick says, yeah, I'll do it. I'll even pay the $10 million buyout, but I need full personnel control. I need to run the whole operation. Also, there's going to be a clause in my contract that says my kid is going to be the heir apparent head coach when I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
There are different, better ways to build a program.
Oh, no, totally.
I'm putting Tom Telesco, my general manager, in charge of that coaching search. I'm saying, who do you want to work with? Who do you think is the best candidate that you can partner with to take this thing out of the doldrums it's been in since 2002?
Yeah. That, and hey, go get him a quarterback, go get him a running back, go get him another wide receiver. I know Brock Bowers is great at tight end. And, you've got some defensive players that that you can build around, but you got a lot of work to do. Either way, if you're going to go get a coach, put a coach in a position to have some sort of success.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, man. All right.
I don't think they did that last year.
That went on much longer than I thought I was going to.
Talk about, Belichick. It's all right.
Yeah, it's fine. Really, it's just, I can't, the head coaching cycle is fascinating because you have, it's a lot different than it normally is because you have the Jags who have a quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, whatever you think of him, he's not terrible. You're not having to draft a quarterback.
No, he's still your franchise guy.
Right. The Patriots apparently have their quarterback.
Drake
May looked good this year. The Bears have their quarterback. Caleb Williams a player. That's 3 jobs where the best candidates, it's like those are the 3 spots. Anybody want to go to the Jets? The Saints salary cap is a mess.
I don't want the Saints job. I don't want the Jets job. And then I don't want that Raiders job.
Not at all. I think I'd take I think if I'm ranking Jets, Pats, Raiders, I think the Raiders go at the top because I would want nothing to do with the Jets.
But the Jets have a good Jets, defense.
Saints, Raiders.
Yeah. At least the Jets have a defense you can build around.
I guess, but organizationally, I just don't want to be involved.
No, I get that.
Not that the Raiders have been like awesome, but the Jets are just a lot of baggage there. And the Saints, they're a mess. They are, dude, because they did the thing where they kicked the can down the road with their salary cap, which is fine. You can do that, but eventually, like the bill comes due, right?
Yeah, and if you're not very good,
you can make minimum payments on your credit card, but eventually, like, that bill's gonna come due.
Yeah, eventually you're gonna realize that you're throwing away hundreds of dollars a month.
Yes,
just in interest.
Yep. Anyways, shout out to the Raiders, man. Fingers crossed for them. All right. We got a bunch of King stuff to get into. I was locked into the Warriors Heat game last night. Had a couple of thoughts on that. The Giants signed Justin Verlander. The A's gave Brent Rooker an extension yesterday. We didn't dive into that. We'll do that. A little baseball coming up here in January. But here's my number one takeaway watching the Warriors last night. I'm really watching the Warriors all season.
Mm-hmm.
They got to trade Steph.
Oh,
it's time.
That's tough.
We'll talk about it. He's James. I'm Kyle. We're the Insiders. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. This is ESPN 1320. It's Sacramento Sports Center. Clear.
Now I can curse? Is that what you're saying?
Yep. You can drop all the F-bombs you want.
Damn it. Paolo Banchero is expected to return to action in one of Orlando's back-to-back home games Thursday versus Minnesota or Friday versus Milwaukee. What's going on, everybody? Hi, Cousin Pete. Scooter doesn't like that Verlander signing at all.
All right. Well, Scooter, then we got beef. We'll talk about it.
I don't know.
No, I have so many thoughts on the Verlander thing.
We do. We penciled stuff down. We wrote it on the paper. Let's see. I am going
to disappear for a second.
Oh, Jesus, Kyle. You should. I'm going to show you this after the show, so you're not just angry. Angry Kyle is never good.
What happened?
JC sent us an email.
Oh, no, I know. I talked to him this morning.
Did you read what they pitched?
We're back. Well, we're mics.
Yeah, mics are hot. No, Johnny G. JC is not Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, here at the Odyssey.
Fire, though.
What's that? Wait, I'm confused. Like Zabo, I assume this is in regards to the Verlander. Verlander's old, yes, but Verlander won the Cy Young 2 years ago. Oh. Cousin Pete, Kyle and I lost in the fantasy football playoffs by 3 points. We did not win. In my other league, I came in second in total points and won 4 games the whole year. It is like every once in a while, like me and my son, our team, every single week that someone blew up and went crazy, they played against us. So that like Alvin Kamara 4 touchdown week in week 2, yeah, that was against us. week 1 when Anthony Richardson threw for had like 27 points and everyone was like,
best week of the year.
Yeah, oh my gosh, he's amazing. Yeah. 4 touchdown Saquon Barkley game. Yeah, that was against us. 40 plus points. Yeah, we had a rough one. That's the first time me and my son haven't made the playoffs since he joined me with my team, which is like 6 years ago. And we've won 2 Super Bowls and been to the Super Bowl 4 times in 6 years. Are there any factors before the trade deadline that you have to wait for available to trade? You know,
all right, we're all
gonna,
right. I'm adjusting. Scooter's pissing me off.
Oh.
In a good way. In a good way. Okay, here we go.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Yeah, hit us up on the Elk Grove Kia talk line, 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. James Ham's over there. I'm Kyle. We are sponsored by Jiffy Lube. Hit up jiffylube.com to find the location nearest you today. All right, we're gonna move some stuff around. The San Francisco Giants signed Justin Verlander yesterday to a 1-year, $15 million deal. Verlander turns 42 before, I believe, in February.
Yeah, it's like right around the corner.
Yeah. So he's about to turn 42. I saw this general negative reaction on the internet yesterday from many Giants fans. And then our guy Scooter here in the chat, the homie Scooter, also out on the signing. Not a fan.
Okay.
Here's where I'm at with Justin Verlander going to the San Francisco Giants. Just let's get away from the analysis aspect of this all. It's just cool to have a Hall of Famer on your team.
I agree.
Like, I think sports are fun. That's the goal of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I know we get into the weeds on numbers, and you get there's the high emotions and the low emotions and the anger that comes with it, and all this other stuff. But at its core, sports are supposed to be fun. You get to watch Justin Verlander pitch for your favorite team. That's a cool thing. Justin Verlander is going to go down as a legend.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I totally agree. And in the last 6 years, he's won 2 Cy Youngs. He missed an entire season, but I mean,
he won a Cy Young after missing that entire season.
Yeah, the 22 season, he was 18-4 with a 1.75 ERA and led the league in strikeouts with 218.
Good player.
I mean, I went and dug into the stats a little bit. We're talking about a player who's top 10 all time in strikeouts.
Yep.
And has an opportunity to climb to maybe top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he plays a year or two, he could be top 5 all time in strikeouts.
Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, they're like guys that he's conceivably going to pass that you're going to be like, oh, wow. Like he is that good.
Yes. And he pitches for your favorite team if you're a Giants fan.
Yeah.
If you're a baseball fan here in Sacramento, A's, Giants, Yankees, Cubs, whoever, he's probably going to pitch at Sutter Health Park this year.
What's crazy too is it like, the A's went out.
Cool.
They signed Severino, right?
Yeah,
and
Severino.
Like good pitcher, but his injuries have been like derailed. It has derailed him, right? And we're talking about a 30, 31-year-old that you're hoping can get right, and you signed him to a 3-year deal, and you're hoping that you didn't just throw money down a well. The Giants didn't throw money down a well. It's very possible that Verlander could be a great third starter for this team. I mean, he did it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, like, I would at least, it wasn't long term. It's not some crazy deal. Like, why not? Like, if you're looking at your rotation and going, we need someone behind Webb. Okay, there he is.
This is, and Tyler Jennings says the goal is not to win. No, that's the player's job. My goal is to have fun watching sports.
Oh, yeah.
I am not going to win or lose the game.
Nope.
No matter how much I think jinxing and superstitions help or hurt.
There's a lot of people who tweet at me that we are behind by whatever amount of points. I've never been behind once.
I have never ever
on an NBA court. They have never let me play. I've never been behind.
There is one time I did lose a 49er game because I did not, my 49ers shirt that I wore for every game in 2013 was not washed.
You're superstitious.
And I didn't wear it. That's my fault. That's on me, boys. I'll wear that one. That's a loss on me. I'm 0-1 in my career. It's okay.
But you'd never dropped a pass or
not an NFL game.
Didn't tackle somebody.
No, right. Yeah.
You know?
So, but yeah, I don't. My goal is not to win or lose. My goal is my hope is that the team wins.
Yeah, it's very entertaining.
But I hope to have a good time.
Yes.
Okay. That's what sports are. They're entertainment. Anyways. Back to the Verlander thing.
Yeah.
1 year, $15 million. And this is, I was talking to Joe Shasky about this last night from our sister station 95.7 The Game in San Francisco. Shout out to the Morning Roast. We love this, guys. Shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. And I don't think the importance of pitching depth in modern Major League Baseball can be overlooked.
Oh, no.
Go, if you need a recent example of how important it is to have like 12 guys who can go start a game for you or start a stretch of games for you, go look at the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yep.
I know everybody knows about Mookie Betts. Everybody knows about Shohei. Everybody knows about Teoscar Hernandez or whoever. Their IL list, trust me, I did a little bit of covering the Dodgers last year for the Sporting News. I followed this very closely. They had like 10 guys on IL, just starting pitchers. Just guys who would be in the starting rotation. They were calling up dudes from like AA to make spot starts. It is, and they wound up winning a title.
Yep.
It is so vital in Major League Baseball today, especially with the way pitchers are used, with the amount of injuries that pitchers deal with, to just have, even if Justin Verlander goes and makes 12 starts for you, you need those 12 starts because you're getting 12 starts out of a Hall of Famer, top 10 all-time in strikeouts, who's still good. I know his metrics are down and all that. Yeah, he's 42. He's not going to be as good as he was 10 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd still way rather have Justin Verlander making those 12 starts than Rando out of AA.
Oh, yeah. I'm totally on board. Like, I don't like the Giants at all, but I certainly can look at this and go, okay. Like,
let's see the vision.
Like, why not?
I mean, 1 year.
And just so people, he's got 262 career wins. This is something that we looked at. It is so sad to see what's happened to wins, to victories in Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Pitchers don't win games anymore. Like, there are people on the top 10. Okay, so you looked up, but Sonny Gray is the only pitcher under 35 with 100 wins, right?
I don't know if that's the case, but he is the active leader among players under 35 in wins, and he has 111. This is getting away from the Verlander thing, and I want to dive into this, but real quick, let me address one more thing. I do think, and Scooter asks, is this a teaching the young guys type of thing? Yeah, I think having a veteran like Justin Verlander in the locker room is huge.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to have Logan Webb and Ryan Birdsong and Kyle Harrison, and these are going to be the guys who are the future of your organization, the future of your rotation. Yeah, having a year with Justin Verlander won't hurt.
Nope.
Because I don't think so.
We even talked to JP Sears about this.
Yeah.
And he talked about Severino.
Yes.
Said,
1,000%.
This dude he's a leader behind the scenes. He's a guy that will sit there and talk to you and help you get through things. And like, he was never, ever a guy that like just came in every fifth day and did his job and then walked away. Like, he was always there for the young guys, always trying to work with everybody. Like, so like, and maybe there's value here.
Yeah. And maybe Verlander's not that guy. I have no idea. I just don't think if they had committed, if this was a 5-year, $200 million deal, okay, yeah, let's talk about if it's a bad signing, which it would have been. But 1 year, $15 million to have Justin Verlander go make some starts for you? Yeah, man. I'm in. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I started here real quick. Hang on. Before we dig into the wins thing. The Elk Grove Kid talk lines 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. Our guy Mitch in New Jersey wants to weigh in. What's up, Mitch?
Hey, how you guys do? What's cracking, Kyle, Mr. Ham?
What's going on?
How about?
Wait, hang on, Mitch. Pause, Mitch. I love you, Mitch.
We got more snow on Saturday. It's like 30 degrees out here, but I got to feed my neighbor's dog. I love them.
Hey, Mitch.
Yeah.
Who did you say? Kyle and who?
I'm just being joking. James. I was just being facetious.
Okay, got it.
All right, Mr. Matson.
Nice,
all right?
Nice. We called him Sam. There's no Sam here.
Sam, I said Mr. Ham.
I thought you said
it's my
Sam.
accent.
That's on me. That foul on me. Foul on me. All right, go ahead. Continue, Mitch.
It's not you, it's me. A little stanza there. How about Sale going to the and now that the Raiders won themselves out of the Hunter, Cam, and Sanders sweepstakes.
Mm-hmm.
Wide receiver from Arizona, McMillan,
mm-hmm.
Jackson Daw in the second round, and Damian Martinez in third round from Miami, running back. He also play with Oregon State. But the time Ray gets drafted, they're going to be playing for 3-4 colleges.
Right on. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate the call. Let's get Mitch in there as the head coach of the Raiders. Let's go. McMillan out of Arizona in round 1. Go get Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss in round 2. And then the running back from Miami in round 3. Here we go. The Raiders are back.
Raiders are back.
Mitch has got us.
All right.
Elk Grove Kid Talk on 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. Yeah, so I was looking at this last night because I went, is Justin Verlander close to 300 wins? Could we have history in San Francisco?
Mm-hmm.
He's close-ish. 262 wins. He needs 38 and he's 42. I don't think he gets there. But not only is he potentially, if he does, I don't think he will, but if he does, I don't think anyone will ever get to 300 wins again.
Okay.
But he's going to be the last person to even get close. Because next on the list in active leaders in wins is Max Scherzer with like 212.
216.
216?
Yep. Clayton
and Max
Kershaw.
Scherzer's 38.
Scherzer's 39, and I think he's already turned 40.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. The next on the list is Clayton Kershaw, who was 36 this last season. He will be 37 before the start of the season, and he's at 212. And then fourth on the list, we drop all the way down to Garrett Cole at 153. Now, he's 33, so he is the one guy with wins, but he's 33 years old. Like 100, he's fourth currently. This always there's going to be this weird discussion that I don't think will ever take place. That I think should. What do you do with pitchers that are in between like the Randy Johnson, Greg Maddux era and the era that we're in now? All these pitchers won like 220, 240, games, and they're not considered Hall of Famers because they didn't get to 300, which is always auto entry. Auto entry in the Hall of Fame is 500 home runs. It's 3,000 hits. It's 300 wins. 300 wins or 3,000 strikeouts. That's auto entry.
Sure.
Right? Unless you did steroids and then you're
in
lost in limbo.
Sure.
Right? But
real quick amendment. Unless you did steroids and also the people just didn't like you.
Yeah, that happens.
And that'll be the excuse.
Yeah.
Because if you did steroids and everyone likes you, David Ortiz, you're in. If you did steroids and you were a jerk, Barry Bonds, you're out.
Yeah.
Anyways, go on.
Well, I mean, it's the same with Roger Clemens, and there's a lot of them that are just like out, right? So I just think it's really interesting because, like a guy like Tim Hudson has 222 wins, career wins. He's got more wins than Clayton Kershaw.
That's crazy.
222 wins.
I would have lost that trivia every time.
He only won 20 once. But he was like Maddux, who just like every year was 15 wins for years. Like, what are we going to do about pitchers like this who finish with like 40 more wins than Pedro Martinez? And I don't know the answer because like it used to be some standard that was put out there, 300 wins, but no one is going to get to that anymore. What is the new standard? Dude. Is it going to be 200 or is it going to be 220?
Or is baseball falling down such a rabbit hole of analytics that pitcher wins is no longer a stat anybody cares about?
Oh, that's wild though.
And that's where I think it's going because, like, seriously, the pitcher win is a sham stat, right?
Yeah.
Because you can go. Nolan Ryan had a year where he went like 6-18 and won the ERA title.
Oh yeah, he struck out a bajillion
with the Astros, I think it was. But I mean, you could go pitch a one hitter for 12 innings, and that one hit is a solo home run in the 12th, and get a loss, right? Like it's just not a good indicator of whether a pitcher was good or not. And we've
even last year, who was the guy that the Dodgers just let go mid-season who was like 8-2 on the season?
Oh, James Paxton.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, that was probably a bad idea.
But see, that's the thing. Jay Paxton wasn't very good.
No, he wasn't very good, but he kept winning.
I guess.
And I guess you roll him out there, and you're hoping that you can figure something out. But yeah,
hey, hang on. I want to detour here. That Nolan Ryan season I was talking about in Houston was 1987.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it.
He was 40 and went 8-16 with a league best 2.76 ERA.
Kyle, he struck out 270 that year. 270. The next year at 41,
keep going.
228. The next year at 42 years old in 1989, he struck out 301. 301 batters. 232 the next year.
All leading the league from age 40 to 43.
Yeah, his strikeout totals, 5,714 strikeouts. It's so far above anything else that the only stat you can really compare to, there's two, and in all of sports that you look at, it's Jerry Rice's receiving yards that are so like 7,000 more than anyone else, and
it's outrageous.
Ricky Henderson's stolen bases.
Yeah, Ricky's stolen bases will never get touched.
No, it's like it's Lou Brock at like 900 and something, and then it's
1,300.
Yeah, Ricky Henderson over 1,300.
Yeah, and guys just don't, and that's where this goes now when you start talking about wins for pitchers and stuff. The reason nobody's going to touch Ricky Henderson's steals record is A, because he had so damn many, but B, that's just not the game anymore. No. Even with the bigger bases and the limited pickoff attempts and all that, guys are stealing more than they did 5 years ago. But nothing is going to be, that's not the game anymore. The game isn't, hey, we're going to put Ricky Henderson at the top of the lineup because he's awesome at getting on base. And if he gets a single, it's going to be a triple. Because that's just how it goes. No, it's going to be, we're going to get Ricky Henderson on base, and then the next three guys are going to try and hit a 2-run homer. And we don't want to risk him getting thrown out and eliminating that potential for a run. So he's just going to stay on first. So that's why I think we're never going to see a pitcher get even close to 300 wins again. So Garrett Cole, you said, is 33 years old?
Yes.
He would need to average 15 wins a season through his age 43 season to get to 300.
Yeah.
No chance. And that's just, I think that's born out of one. You brought up a really interesting point that the pitchers just come up later now, which I think that's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
B, the injury stuff with pitchers is just costing guys seasons. Like you tear your UCL, you're losing whatever the rest of that season is, the next season, and then you come back the next season and hey, maybe you're never quite the same. And on top of all that, you've got openers now, you've got pitch counts because guys you're trying to mitigate injuries. You got guys going 4 innings. And not getting a chance to get that win. I just think the way that pitchers are managed now, and the way the injury situations are with pitchers, you're just no one's going to get an opportunity to win 300.
No, it's not even going to be close. I mean, we were looking in, like, Brandon Webb is the youngest player on the top 100 in current wins, like career wins. He's the only player who's 27, and now he's 28, but he was 20 coming into last season or finishing last season. That was 27 or below on the entire list of the top 100, and he has 55 wins. That's like
he's only 245 crazy. Away.
Yeah,
so he needs to average
20 a year for 12 seasons would give him 240. That would put him at 295.
So 20 a year for 12 seasons, which means he's winning 20 a year until he's almost 40.
Yeah. Every year. He might not win 20 once.
We might never see a 20-game winner again.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like I'm floored when I went to look at those numbers. Like, I knew we probably were never going to have anybody hit 300 again, but the fact that Justin Verlander is probably as close as we'll ever see, and he's still pretty far away.
Oh yeah, he needs 38 wins, and I don't know how you get 38 wins at age 40, almost 42.
Yeah, you gotta go 4 more years at 10 wins a year.
Not gonna happen.
At 8 last year.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, man. But I love the signing for the Giants. It's just a good depth to have. Experienced starter, If you get into a playoff situation, you feel really good about rolling Justin Verlander out for a game.
Yeah.
Maybe you convert him to a closer at some point.
Oh.
If that's something he's amenable to. I don't know. I think there are options here with Justin Verlander that for 1 year and $15 million, that is pennies for the Giants.
Yeah.
The Giants print money. I know there's competitive balance tax or whatever there is in Major League Baseball, but the Giants aren't strapped for cash here where this is going to make it so they can't go sign player X.
No,
this is just a quality depth signing for me.
And isn't everything paid off? Like they are just printing money.
Yeah.
Like I think they paid off their park in 7 years or 8 years, something crazy.
Yeah, they're chilling. They have no issues. At least they shouldn't have issues financially. And just one more point. And again, I was talking with Joe Shasky from 95.7 The Game about this last night, and he brought up this point on Twitter, and I thought it was great. The Giants had 9 players make 7 or more starts for them last year.
Oh.
This isn't.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game now, man. That's just, and that doesn't. All of those are. I'm sorry. Eric Miller was primarily a reliever and started 10. Jordan Hicks started 20 of his 29 games.
That's wild.
But everyone else is a starter. So this is just this is modern baseball, man.
Like how many pitchers did you say started?
They had 16 pitchers make starts. 9 of them made 7 or more.
The A's had 10 who made 9 or more starts. 10. Hoagland Harris, Osvaldo Bido,
Sure.
Paul Blackburn before he was traded, Joe Boyle before he was traded,
JP Sears.
JP Sears. Yeah, JP Sears started 32 games.
JP Sears was the big winner the other day for me, by the way.
Yeah, cool dude.
Count me down. Big JP Sears guy.
Yeah, super chill dude. He's again, we're talking about a pitcher we all think of as like a young pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be 29 this year.
Yeah,
that's just kind of the way it works now. Like it's getting up into the major leagues, and sticking is so difficult. And we're talking about a guy who has, I don't even know if he has 3 years of full service in Major League Baseball. Like
Sears.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
I believe he does.
Is it that many years?
22, 23, 24.
Yeah. His service time is 2.081.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, he exceeded his rookie limit in 2022. I see. Okay.
Yeah. So he's arbitration eligible in 2026, but he's not a free agent until 2029. And in 2029, we're talking, another 4 seasons. That's the other issue. Almost 33.
Teams purposely, because of what you're talking about, the service time rules, like manipulate when guys are up and not.
Oh, totally.
It's so rare that it's like, this guy's awesome in AAA. He's 20. Bring him up. It's okay. We're going to bring him up for this many days, but then we got to send him down to make sure that he's not arbitration eligible for this many years. So we have maximum amount of team control where he's not hitting free agency until he's 28.
Yeah. So we were talking to Lawrence Butler wasn't eligible to be rookie of the year last year not because he didn't have the at bats. Like he had the exact number of bats to stay eligible, which is 130. If you have 130 at bats, if you have more than 130 at bats, you're no longer eligible for rookie of the year the next year. Right. So he was under that, but he would been up with the team more than 50 games.
Yeah.
And even though he didn't play, he was ineligible for rookie of the year last year, and he would have won rookie of the year.
If he didn't win it, he was going to be really close.
Oh yeah,
he was so freaking good in the second half.
Yeah.
Brent Rooker, by the way, got a 5-year, $60 million extension. We didn't talk about that yesterday.
Which happened during
Morey's spending
during the overtime while he was sitting courtside. It was announced.
Yeah, and it was, dude. We talked to him.
Yeah,
and we were like, hey, I was like, how do you compartmentalize being involved in trade rumors? Like, you're the guy who gets traded,
especially here in Oakland.
You're right.
Well, now in Sacramento, but the A's.
You're 29. You're coming off a season where you should have been an all-star.
39 home runs.
Right. You're the guy they trade for younger prospects. And he's like, I don't want to go anywhere. And
I'm going to be here.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not
going anywhere. And we're like, oh,
that's all. How did we not go? Oh, why do you say that? Like, I think I was just taking it as like the standard answer.
Well, that, and I think we were both like, like sort of off the record with
Yeah,
these
right,
guys. Not
right.
off the record, but we didn't have a mic
We were
out
vibing.
recording.
We were chilling.
We were just hanging out with
we were
them
the
and
stop
getting to know them.
There's all the TV stations were there and stuff.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of the stop on the way between TV stations. They'd come and hang out for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude. But what was funny is I didn't think that much of it at the time. But then that extension got announced, and I was like, oh, that was it just all kind of.
Yeah, that was the moment, and we totally missed it, Kyle.
Brutal. Brutal.
So wait, are you signing an extension?
Yeah, that was it. That was the question. We
Yeah.
just didn't ask it. That's all right.
That's all right.
We'll do better next time. Hopefully get Rooker on the show here soon. 5 years, $60 million. Shout out to Brent Rooker. Very well earned. Excellent player, and he will be staying with the A's here in Sacramento and then in Vegas, assuming that deal gets done. All right. Wow, first hour is that. That's it.
That's it.
For the first hour.
We did it, Kyle.
We have another whole hour coming up, though. So stick around on ESPN 1320. Stick around on YouTube, Twitch. We're going to be here. We're hanging out. We're taking you up to noon. Then we'll hand it off to D'Lo and KC right here on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Center. Hey, this is Kyle Madsen from the Insiders, and I've got good news. Underdog is available to play here in California. Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your takes during the NFL playoffs with over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won. That's $2 billion won. Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all of your favorite athletes' performances. Underdog's pick'em game, it's super easy. You pick higher or lower on at least 2 player stats like pass attempts, rushing yards, receptions, you know what the stats are. And then you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So if like you think Lamar Jackson's going to keep cooking in the postseason, which I kind of personally do, you'll want to go higher on his 216.5 passing yards in the wild card round against Pittsburgh. If you think Russell Wilson and the Steelers offense is going to continue to struggle, well, then maybe you want to jump on the lower 1.5 passing touchdowns for their matchup with the Ravens. And it's not just the NFL. They've got all your favorite leagues and stars to choose from. I'll have some picks coming up for you a little bit later. I've got a lineup set for tonight, and we'll go over that on the Insiders. I'd love for you to play along with me because Underdog is the best place to play Pick'em. Download the app. That's Underdog. Download the app. Sign up with the promo code KyleM and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code KyleM. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. We did it.
Let's see. Andrew, the reason I don't bring up Cal Ripken's consecutive game streak in this same way that I bring up Jerry Rice or Ricky Henderson or Nolan Ryan's streak is because Cal Ripken played like 200 more games or 150 more games than Lou Gehrig. And so, yeah, no one is ever going to touch that streak because players don't play the consecutive games that they used to. But he also didn't take like Lou Gehrig's record and like go so much further than the record that no one can ever touch it. So that's why I don't consider it in the same way. Again, go look at Jerry Rice's.
Definitely a record nobody's going to touch, though.
No, it's a record that no one's going to touch because people just don't play games like that anymore. I know, like at one point, Miguel Tejada would led Major League Baseball at like 600 games or 480 games or something.
Guy gets to 200 consecutive games, and it's like, whoa!
Whoa, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, take a day off, guy.
Yeah. Again, I'm not trying to disparage like Cal Ripken's record. Lou Gehrig's record, 2,130 games. And Ripken played 501 more games. So I guess that's a lot. Like 26-32. Also, Lou Gehrig got ALS and had to retire. Well, Miguel Tejada got up to 1,152 consecutive games played. Of course, he also got caught doing steroid stuff.
Oy.
Steve Garvey. He's, I think, 5th. There's someone in the NPL that played Sacho Kinugasa from 1970 to 1987, played 2,215 consecutive games. We retired with the streak intact.
Hey, Ham, 10 seconds.
F.
All right, the mics are going to be hot. Hour number 2, that's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We are rocking with you until noon. Then we will hand it off to D-Lo and KC, and they will take you up to 4 o'clock right here on Sacramento's sports leader. He's James. I'm Kyle. Jiffy Lube sponsors the show. The Elk Grove Kia talk line is 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. Don, I see ya on the Elk Grove Kia talk line. Hang in there for 1 second. James, I want to touch base with you real quick on the Orlando Robinson thing.
Yeah.
The Kings waived him late in yesterday's show, so we did the news, but we didn't get to really dig into the machinations of this. So they had to waive him to ensure that his salary wouldn't be guaranteed for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And it now opens up a roster spot at the end of the Kings bench. So they now have 14 players under contract. Jay Crowder and Doug McDermott stuck around. So their contracts are both fully guaranteed through the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They can be waived. They can be let go. The Kings just are going to owe them money.
Yeah. And for what I know, Jay Crowder had already, like, his contract that he signed was an entire season contract. Okay. It was for like $1.6 million or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's a veteran minimum, but veteran minimum for the amount of time left in the season.
A prorated veteran.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Exactly. Right. And then Doug McDermott had a $750,000 guarantee, $750,000. Yeah. When he signed. And so if he wasn't waived by, January 7th, there's a 48-hour window to clear waivers, and players have to clear waivers by January 10th. And so now, again, Orlando is available for anyone to pick up. The Kings, like, if they had a two-way spot, they could go back to Orlando and see if and offer him a two-way spot. But I think Orlando's a player that someone will probably gamble on and say, hey, 15th roster spot, we might take him on. They also, someone can claim him off waivers, and that's just another thing that can happen. But
do you know? I'm trying to find Orlando Robinson's numbers here real quick. Orlando Robinson this season played 9 games with the Kings. If they signed him to a two-way, would those 9 games count toward the number of games he could play?
No.
Okay, so he would get.
It is a prorated, though. Well, okay, so every two-way player, if you have at a certain point in the season, if you have 15 roster spots taken up, then your 3 two-way players get 50 games each.
Mason Jones, Isaiah Crawford, Isaac Jones.
Yeah, they get 50 games each that they can be up with the main club.
Okay.
If you don't have 15 players at a specific point in the season, the Kings are okay. They had that. Then you get a total, I think, of 90 games or 99 games, right? So either way, like the Kings are going to run into this problem, but it's each of those spots have 50 games. Not any two-way that you sign has 50 games. Got me? So if the Kings were to, say, elevate Isaac Jones to the main roster, who's already been on, again, he's already played, I think it's 32 or 33 games he's suited up in. And so those count. He's only got like 16 or 17, 18 games left that he can actually play from here on out the rest of the season. So if you were to elevate him to the main roster, his 50 games, his block of 50 games, you can only sign someone to that position that would then only have like 17 or 18 games. Are you with me?
I see. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the slot gets 50 games, not the players.
Yeah, you don't get unlimited amount of
Got it.
50 player two-way players. You can't, so you can't just keep signing two-way players, getting to a certain like 20 games in and then waiving them and then signing another two-way player and get another 50 games.
Got it.
It's only 50 per slot.
Okay. Do you think that's, I know there's different things they can do with that roster spot. They can make a trade and it allows them to take 2 back for 1 if they or 3 back for 2, whatever.
Yeah.
It gives them that flexibility. Do you think right now their path is leaning toward Isaac Jones getting converted to a full NBA contract?
Well, if you do that, you're going to do it after we pass the trade deadline.
Right.
So that's what you can do. So basically, whatever they're going to do at the trade dedeadline, what this does is it just gives you flexibility, right? Like what you said, it gives you the ability to trade 2 of your players out and take back 3 without having to waive a player. That's one avenue that it can help you. It can also help that if you get to the trade deadline and you've already made other moves or whatever has happened, maybe you haven't made a move, but it still does give you the opportunity to go, so, hey, you're, that league minimum player will take on your league minimum player. You give us a 2nd round pick and $1.5 million to cover his salary, and we'll take him off your books so you can drop below the luxury tax. They can do that, like what they've done in previous years, where last year they traded for Robin Lopez. They've traded for Robin Lopez twice at the trade deadline and waived him in the last like 8 years. So there are these different things that you can do with that position. And I think a lot of times fans are like, oh, well, you did all of that just to get some cash and a 2nd round pick or whatever. And to be honest with you, the Kings need 2nd round picks. So if they ended up doing that at the last second, that's not a bad move for the Kings. The other thing that this transaction did is it locked them in at $3.2 million under the luxury tax for this season, and roughly $10 million under the first apron. And so the Kings are hard capped at the first apron, which is $178 million. They cannot, under any circumstance, go over $178 million in salary for this season. So what they could do right now, we talked about this before, where you have the mid-level exception. They still have their mid-level exception. They could absorb a player into just the mid-level, and the other team would get something like a trade exception, right? And they could just absorb their salary as long as they stay below the $178 million first apron.
Yeah.
So, but if they did that, they would go over the luxury tax,
right?
Which then they don't get their luxury tax share.
Right.
So this can work out a lot of different ways. Maybe they use this space, maybe they don't. Maybe they offer up, $27 million in salary for a $34 million player. And so they have $7 million more in salary coming back, and that pushes them over the luxury tax, but keeps them below the apron. There are a lot of ways in which they can manipulate this and use this money in different ways.
Okay, I want to put a pin in that because I want to get out to the Elk Grove Kia talk line. But I have a couple of questions regarding that. The Elk Grove Kia talk line is 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. We'd love to hear from you. And Don, you're on the Insiders. What's up?
Kyle and Hammer. What's up?
What's up, TC?
What's up, man?
Hey, check it out. So listen, before we go Kings, let's go Niners. Kyle, Ham, I'm all for Robert Saleh coming back, bro, because I think that's a smart move. You get him back in the building, bring the defensive back, and see how they shake out this year with Shanahan. So when you move on from him, you can just put Salah in his spot, which we should have did from the jump instead of letting him go. We should have promoted Robert Salah or D'Amico Ryan. Kyle will tell you that, Hammer. He know the truth.
I don't know that, but TC, I'm being dead serious. I deeply respect your commitment to this take.
But hey, Kyle,
what do you got on the Kings?
Also, what I got on the Kings? Hey, Hammer. Hey, am I wrong for switching out? Maybe I don't know, man. Maybe like I don't know, bro, because I don't want to mess with it. I know we need things, but I don't want to mess with it. Like, I think the only tweak that we should do is maybe like a land for Valanciunas, right, to throw him and have that edge, rebounding, because we know what he can do. He played with Domas. Like, just get another edgy player that can come in, another big man. You get me? Or am I tripping, Ham and Kyle? I don't know. Let me know, please.
Thanks for the call, TC. Appreciate you. So I think that what TC just said is the new number one question about the Kings in the trade market. Because I think what their recent run under Doug Christie has done has not, for me, altered whether they need to make changes to their roster. I think they do. Because the goal is not just to be, a good regular season team, you're trying to win playoff series. But I think the urgency changes and the reason for that trade changes. And I think it actually gets more difficult now. Because before, when they were 6 games under 500, it was like, well, do you even want to make a trade because you might have to give up assets, and is this team any good and all that other stuff? Well, now it gets difficult because of what TC just said. It's like, I know we need things, but I don't know if I want to mess with it. And I get and I heard Kenny talking about this, and I totally understand the take of you don't want to go give up Trey Lyles right now. He's the only real size you have behind Sabonis. I know you have Alex Len, but the only person you're comfortable playing 20 plus minutes is Trey Lyles. You want to see what Devin Carter's got. You just don't want to, don't touch it. It's fine. But on the other hand, at some point you got to take the leap, because I think this is a good team. This is obviously a good roster, but I don't think you're going to go win a bunch of playoff series with the roster as it's currently constructed. And that's a really fine line. It's tough. Like I get the Trey Lyles argument, and I get the Devin Carter argument, but that's kind of, it's going to hurt a little.
Yeah, I totally get the thought. And, there's all kinds of things that I want to get into when it unraveling this, because look, you are a team that a week and a half ago wasn't good enough. You're still the same team. You still have the same flaws. And the fact that you've won some games, that you've gritted out some wins. Yeah, you had more talent than your record. We can even, keep looking at this weird, the expected win total for the Sacramento Kings, which takes into account games that you're in, little close games and all that stuff. The Kings' expected win total they should be 21-16 per Basketball Reference. There was a failure here to complete games and to get wins. The 3-11 in games decided by 5 points or less, right? But my point is, it doesn't matter at the end of the day whether you lost all these games by 5 points or less. If you lost, it doesn't matter. A loss is a loss. And so you get to a point in the season where you have to just sign off and say, this season's over. We don't have an opportunity to recover. The Kings have recovered, but they're still the 10th seed in the Western Conference, the 12th seed,
right?
The 11th seed in the Western Conference.
They are right there in the Western Conference.
They're right there. We'll talk about where they're at in the standings.
Sure.
But the problem that I've had is that you don't throw future draft picks at a team that's underperforming. When that team starts to perform again, and all of a sudden you're right there on the edge, and you might be able to go get a player that pushes you over the edge, it's go time. If there's a trade out there that makes sense, it's go time right now. Go help this team get really over them. You want to energize a team, you give him a new head coach that's clearly energized a team, and then you give him the missing link for the rest of your team. We're going to still ask the question, why didn't you do this for Mike Brown?
Right.
But at the same time, this roster is not complete. And if you think your roster is complete, and you think that just because Doug Christie won 5 games in a row as the interim head coach, that everything is fixed, wait until Friday when you play Boston, and they roll out 6 guys that are 6'6" to 6'9", and they punish you.
Yeah.
And maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe the Kings are able to continue this run. But also look at that 6-game stretch coming up in January on the road. It's just brutal. And every game that you're looking at, you're like, man, you need 1 or 2 more pieces. This is not the time to get gun shy. Also, like I want to bring something up in the chat.
Please. YouTube.com/ESPN1320.
Yeah. So securing you just keep changing your name.
Securing Monty's firing.
Securing Monty's firing.
That's crazy.
Bobby Marks put out that the Kings are $7 million under the cap. Under the hard cap. I don't understand where he gets that number. I just think he forgot to add the 7 million to the 10. To the 3.2 million.
That would make sense.
The Kings right now are at $167.5 million in dedicated salary. They're exactly 3.2 million or 3.1 something underneath the luxury tax. The luxury tax is at 171.1. The first apron is at 178.1. That's $7 million. That 7 million plus the 3.2 million puts you at 10.2 million roughly. That's where the Kings are at. They're just a little over $10 million under the first apron. And that's the money that they have to play with, especially if they still have their mid-level exception, which allows them to use that money. It also, in trades that are in aggregate, they can take back more money than they send out, but it's got to be within a certain dollar amount of the trade. And so there's all of these little nuances to the cap. But I saw Bobby Marks tweet as well that he said that the Kings have $7 million in cap space. And I disagree with his numbers. That's it. The numbers are what they are. There's $7 million gap between between the luxury tax and the first apron. And then there's whatever you're underneath the luxury tax. Those two numbers are combined to say what you're under the cap. Under the first apron. Excuse me.
So I guess I don't even want, because the will they won't they on the luxury tax thing is TBD.
Yes, TBD. We don't know.
There's not any indication either way. They've not been in the luxury tax in the Vivek Ranadive era, but they've also never had a reason to be. So I'm kind of interested to see how that goes. But the whole notion of not doing a trade because you just kind of want to see what you've got is what got them here in the first place, where they're firing Mike Brown. You didn't want to make a trade in the middle of the 22-23 season because you were the freaking 3 seed. Okay, that's fine. A substantial trade, I should say. And you don't really do anything substantial in the offseason because, hey, you were just the 3 seed and you won 48 games.
Run it back.
Arrow up. Run it back. Didn't work out. And then you get DeMar DeRozan and you trade Harrison Barnes. And all of a sudden, okay, you've made a change to your roster, but the flaw from 22-23 and 23-24 is still there.
And it probably got worse.
It did get worse. It literally empirically got worse.
Yeah.
To the point that, and again, Scooter, Chatty House MVP today, says, I know he's recently had back issues, but why aren't the Kings using Jay Crowder more? That's a problem. If you're going, Jay Crowder should be playing. But at the same time, one of their assets that they can move is Trey Lyles, who has an expiring contract. And this is where I will sit here and I will pound the table all day and say they need to make a trade. They have to acquire taller players, more athletic players. They have to get deeper on the wings, because when Keegan Murray was out, we saw how that went. But at the same time, and this was Kenny's point yesterday, and I think it's a very good one. Okay, you trade Trey Lyles. Well, now you're probably getting smaller at that spot.
Yep.
You might have better depth behind Keegan, but now you have nobody behind Domas outside of Alex Len. You have nobody behind Domas that you're cool playing 20, 25 minutes or potentially starting when Domas is out. So I get the hesitation with Trey Lyles specifically, but that shouldn't take Devin Carter off the table. That shouldn't take first round picks off the table. That shouldn't take Kevin Huerter off the table.
No.
All of that stuff needs to be out there. And if you got to pay a little extra with a first round pick, or maybe you want it top 20 protected and you got to make it top 10 protected, then so be it, man. But that's just, this recent stretch has not changed the notion that they need to make a deal. It has honestly enhanced it for me, because now it's like, yo, they don't need to go get Cam Johnson or a Cam Johnson type of player just to get to good. a Cam Johnson player could take this little run they're on and turn this into a legitimate bona fide contender in a Western Conference that's like,
Kyle, the craziness of the Western Conference, like,
yes,
honestly,
it's insane.
It's so wild to look at. The Kings right now, after their 5-game win streak, they're a half game behind both the Warriors and Spurs, who sit at 9 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
A half game. They could not, like, between now and Friday, they could already move up into number 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sitting right above those two teams, the Kings are a game and a half behind the Minnesota Timberwolves at the 8th spot. The Kings, if we look a little further ahead,
mm-hmm.
the Kings are 2.5 games behind the Clippers and Lakers, who are tied for the 6th seed.
Mm-hmm.
And the 4th and 5th seed are the Denver Nuggets and Dallas Mavericks, who are 3 games ahead of the Kings, the 4th and the 5th seed. You get on a tear here, you roll this thing up, and you start winning, 15 out of 18 or something
mm-hmm.
like that through this stretch. You're right in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're talking about a 4, 5, 6 seed
mm-hmm.
at worst.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can continue this roll.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are we getting too far ahead of ourselves? Yeah, we are.
Maybe.
But I'd also like to tell people, like, look, if this continues and they pick up another 2, let's say they go 2-3 on the trip, and then they pick up a couple of wins at home, and then they've got this 6-game road trip. Maybe you go 4-2.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of that, you're probably the 6th seed, maybe the 7th seed, but you're right there. You're right back in it, and you're fighting not just for a play-in spot.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're back in the playoff conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we might be getting too far ahead of ourselves, but at the same time, like, this is a time to fortify this team. It's the time to say, hey, look, we weren't going to make a trade until you guys prove that you guys
mm-hmm.
are ready for us to make a trade, that you're good enough, that this season isn't just a wash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're a game under 500. You're fighting right back into it.
Right there.
We're here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now let me help you. Let me give you the bump that's going to put you really in the conversation, because it doesn't matter, how many games, like, the feel good stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
You get to a 7-game series against some of these teams, and how are you going to match up against Denver in a 7-game series? And I know you beat Denver here and there, but how are you going to match up against them in a 7-game playoff series when they're rolling out a 6'10", Michael Porter Jr. and a 6'8", 6'9" Aaron Gordon, who just out physicals you at the position, and
mm-hmm.
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do if Keegan Murray's ankle gets, or if he has some other injury?
Yeah, that's it. Like, that's a big part of this too, is you can survive if De'Aaron Fox goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, you're cooking right now. You can survive if De'Aaron Fox is out. You can survive if Malik Monk is out. You can survive if DeMar DeRozan's out. But, like, Domas, not so much.
Nope.
And Keegan, God forbid. Like, what do you do?
For as much as people are like, man, he's having such a bad season, it's like, he is so indispensable.
Indispensable.
He is your Trent Williams.
Yes.
He is.
Fine.
Yeah. I mean, close to it, man. That's like the
Can we
equivalent.
make it like Dre Greenlaw?
No, he is so much more than that. If you don't have that piece, you have no one behind him. And the reason why you say that if you miss De'Aaron Fox, you're okay, is because you have Malik Monk, who's a very...
We're literally seeing proof positive of it now.
Similar style of player. And yeah, you need them both in order to be a great team.
I agree.
But you can survive with one of them for a short amount of time. You can survive without Malik Monk as long as De'Aaron Fox is still there.
Mm-hmm.
You can survive most of the positions on the court except for power forward and center.
Yep.
And it's not because, well, part of it is because Sabonis is so unique in what he does, and replacing him with anyone else is almost impossible.
That's the Christian McCaffrey. You can't just plug in another running back.
No, well, you can plug in another running back and he can still rush for 750 yards, but it doesn't matter. You're not going to win.
Yep.
That's because he can't do all the other things that Sabonis does. But when it comes to very specific Keegan Murray, you just don't have anyone who's 6'8" that can play the position and that can hold up long term and defend like he can, and that's a problem.
Yep.
Again, Trey Lyles is a very good player, and that's why I'm not trading. There was a point where I might have traded Trey Lyles for Valanciunas. Trey Lyles has once again shown me how good of a player he is and how much he can mean to a team.
Yep.
I'm not trading Trey Lyles, who can play 25 to 30 minutes, as a 4 and a 5 for a guy who's going to play 12 minutes behind Sabonis and Valanciunas.
Yeah.
That's really tough to do.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of the Western Conference, I want to dig into, you mentioned kind of getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. I want to get further ahead of ourselves. We'll do that with the Western Conference next. But I want to talk to you right now about Underdog, their pick'em game. It is super easy. We're going to go higher or lower on at least two players. They're two player stats. They've got a ton of stuff going for the NFL playoffs, but it's all the leagues. They got like video games, like e-gaming is on there. Baseball, hockey,
darts,
football, darts, of course, locked into darts. I'm going to go out of the Western Conference, and I'm going with an Eastern Conference exclusive 4-player lineup tonight in my Underdog pick'em. So you can fade these if you want. You can tail me if you want. All you got to do is download the app and sign up with promo code Kyle M and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Bonus cash. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code Kyle M on the Underdog app. All right, so here's where I'm at tonight. That Cleveland OKC game, I wanted a piece of that because I want to lock into that game. Those two, Cleveland and OKC, both on pace for 70 wins.
Wild.
Cleveland currently 73 is their pace. Insane. So I'm going Jared Allen. I'm going higher than half a double-double. I love what OKC does defensively.
Okay.
I think this is the kind of game, though, where Jared Allen can really have an impact scoring, grabbing some rebounds. Isaiah Hartenstein's a really good player, but with no Chet Holmgren, don't love their depth in the front court. So I'm going to go with Jared Allen, higher than half a double-double.
So if he gets a double-double, you win.
Right. Tyrese Halliburton in the Indiana-Chicago game. That's right. I'm dialing in. You can adjust the numbers a little bit. And so I adjusted that up to 24.5 and took the lower. Lower than 24.5 points for Tyrese Halliburton against Chicago. In that same game, Kobe White, I'm going higher than 19.5 points. I don't think Indiana's going to play a ton of defense, and Kobe White is going to have the ball in his hands a lot. I think he goes higher than 19.5. And then Jordan Poole has been cooking. I know the Washington Wizards have not. Jordan Poole has been on one. I'm going higher than 19.5 points against the Philadelphia 76ers. That is my 4-player lineup on Underdog. Again, download the app, sign up with promo code Kyle M and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code Kyle M. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Clear. We're clear.
What's up? What's going on, everybody? Trying to look up the Keith Smith mention of the salary cap stuff and see if there's a reason why why you can't combine those monies. Oh, it's like 24 hours ago almost, right? Let's see where he retweeted. Nutcracker.
That's it. We all like to stick to the 4 main food groups. Candy canes, candy corns.
Unless Keith Smith mentioned it on a pod. I don't know. Also, like, I think Orlando Robinson, like, there were a lot of people who liked Orlando Robinson in Sacramento. You just haven't had this huge need for him. And, you know, if Trey is back and healthy. He tagged me. Okay. I don't see what you tagged me in, though. It's all right. Like bonus, those count towards apron. 6.7 under the luxury tax, but you have to You have the 8.6 under the first apron. Should it be close to 11 to 12 million? Oh. Huh. The difference is unlikely bonuses count towards the apron, but they don't count towards, well, that's bizarre. Because the Kings have a lot of unlikely bonuses. Likely bonuses usually count towards the salary cap. I'm just reading what Keith Smith said. Likely bonuses count towards the cap. Unlikely bonuses don't. But if they do push you over the second apron, maybe that's a thing. But again, I haven't heard that before. And that would make you completely rethink likely and unlikely bonuses.
Isaiah likely bonuses.
Oh, there you go.
The Ravens guy.
Yeah. How much time do we have?
1 minute. Uno minuto.
Greg Tabers, are there any factors before the trade deadline that the Kings have to wait for available to trade, etc.? No, they can't trade Jay Crowder at all this season because he was signed too late, and you have a 6-month waiting period, I think. And Doug McDermott can't be traded until, I think, January 21st because, again, of the same rule. You have to wait for a specific time. But everyone else on the team can be traded at this point. There isn't a single player that or reason why. And look, the Kings have, movable pieces instead of Doug McDermott. If you want to throw in, again, Alex Len's $2.1 million against the cap salary, or Colby Jones, they have a bunch of players that all, or Jordan McLaughlin. They all count towards the cap as the same as league minimum players of 2.1 million, even if they make 3.1, 3.3.
Here we go.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Yeah, James is there. I'm Kyle. If you're new to the program, you'll know I'm a Bay Area guy. Grew up a Warriors fan. Don't get to lock into a lot of Warrior games now because I have responsibilities to you all to watch the Kings. And frankly, the Kings are just a better watch right now. But I got to lock in last night. Unfortunately, they got smoked by the Miami Heat.
Who just lost a double overtime game the night before to the
right.
Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, if you're trying to do the math in your head, they played a double overtime game, then had the second night of a back-to-back and won by a lot of points. Steph went 8 of 17 from 3. The rest of the Warriors went 6 of 31.
Oh.
And here's the deal, bro. This is on purpose. Golden State's entire goal this year was to get under the luxury tax.
Mm-hmm.
That was Joe Lacob said it out loud in a room with air in it and reporters. That was the goal. Get under the luxury tax, which is fine. But they're stuck in this spot, and it's a little bit. It's a different spot than the Kings, right? We talk about the Kings, and we talk about their need to make a trade to improve and hit the Jets on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have a really freaking good core. Supplement it better. That's the impetus behind a trade. Golden State is stuck between their two timelines, and timeline one is a rock, the other one's a hard place. Because what they've done is they kept Steph Curry around, obviously, franchise legend, altered the course of Warriors history. But then they didn't fully commit to just ensuring that, all right, no matter what it means in the future, Steph, we're going to do everything we can to commit to making this roster as good as we can for Steph Curry. We saw it last year in the play-in here in Sacramento. Just not good enough. Now we're seeing it throughout this year. They're just not good enough, and that's fine. But to me, we talk with the Kings, you don't want to just start unloading first-round picks because there's a chance this all kind of goes sideways and you don't want to be left in 2029 with nothing. Right? Which I get. Totally understand. I'd be a little more willing to do that in Sacramento spot, because if you make the right trade and this goes right, you're going to be really freaking good in 2029. So your first round pick's not going to matter. But I get the hesitation. For a team like Golden State, we have 36-year-old Steph Curry, 35-year-old Draymond Green. Those are your two guys. I don't understand that. Okay, you don't want to. They don't want to give up firsts. They don't want to give up those assets because they don't want to be left empty-handed in the post-Curry Draymond era, which is fine. I get that. If you're going to commit to Brandon Podziemski and Trace Jackson Davis and Jonathan Kuminga, there's the new core. That's the future. Cool. Let Steph get out of there. Let him go. Set him free, bro. Like what? Or trade everything and say full commit to this. But they won't, because those assets aren't going to be worth enough to make them title contenders.
Yeah, man.
That's a terrible spot.
This is a worse spot to be in. It's what happens with
and
dying
they're boring
franchises.
and they stink. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's what happens to a dying like dynasty.
Yeah,
like we've seen it happen before. Like this is how it plays out. You can't disrespect your superstar.
Right.
You can't just jettison him. Most like when you get this deep in your career and you've won this many titles, if you're Steph, you want to retire a Warrior. You don't want to go play somewhere else.
No doubt.
So it becomes like this really difficult thing. Like, how do you continue? People, well, in the past, they don't play till 33, 34, 35, 36 and still are the best player on their team. Like what we're seeing right now with Steph, with KD, with LeBron James,
Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, but that's not happened like throughout the course of time. Players usually start to fade in their early 30s.
Right.
And then by this point, they're still there, but they're bit players. They're the third best player, whatever. Like what happened with Clay. Right. Clay got to a point where you're like, okay, look, we're not going to spend all that much money on a player who isn't up here anymore. You might be here, but you're not here. And I'm not going to give you all that money because we're going to pay the luxury tax.
Sure.
So when I look at the Warriors team, I saw the moves that they made this offseason, and they went out and they got like quality NBA players. Like Buddy Hield, I can make jokes about Buddy Hield because I covered him forever. I know Buddy Hield. But like Buddy Hield is still in your rotation, a 7, 8, 9 player in your rotation. Kyle Anderson, still a 7, 8, 9. Milton, right?
D'Anthony Milton. Yeah.
D'Anthony Milton, still a 7, 8, 9 player in your rotation. Potentially a starter, but not really.
Sure.
Not really on a great team. He's not a starter unless you have great starters everywhere else, right? So when I look at the Warriors, I see 1A.
Yep.
And then
Who's 36 and has knee tendonitis.
Yeah. And then I see a couple of like fives, like fifth best players in Draymond Green and Wiggins. Outside of that, everybody else is a 7, 8, 9. And some of the guys that they're running out there and saying that they're the future of this team are 11, 12, 13s. And it's okay to go out and load up with players like that.
Sure.
If you're the Warriors 5 years ago.
Exactly.
And you're star-studded and those pieces can fit. Buddy Hield can just shoot the ball and you can hide him on defense and he can just shoot the ball and get you some rebounds here and there, exciting score, all that stuff. Kyle Anderson can come in and do his thing. But when they have to play rotational minutes, big rotational minutes, and if they don't perform and you're trying to do this whole 12-man thing, whatever, like that had no opportunity to succeed here. And the fact that you're holding on to Kuminga like he's some sort of like...
Well, I don't even know that they're holding on to him. Or if it's, you're not going to get value back for him.
Well, I would agree. And if people are like, hey, you can get Jimmy Butler, but you won't give up Kuminga, why won't you give up Kuminga? It's like, well, because Jimmy Butler's like 35 and it like complete franchise killer.
Right. Unloading the assets. Well, and this is, I think it was Roman in the chatty house brought this up. And this is the issue with Kevin Durant. It's the issue with Jimmy Butler. Like we talked about this with the Kings and Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler in theory would be like great.
Oh yeah.
Like that's a 6'7" wing who can take over a game, but he's gonna play scrappy defense. He just hard nosed. Like I get the idea, but this is the problem with Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. If you're going to trade for those guys, you have to offset so much salary that you're going to land them and be in the same spot their previous team was in.
Of course.
Whatever team, the Jimmy Butler thing, and this was they were talking about this on pregame last night, which is why I was texting you about Jimmy Butler. What do you do if you're Miami? What do you do?
The only trades are for players that are just like him, that are $50 million players that aren't worth the value of their contract.
Right. You're just okay. So Bradley Beal and the Suns hate each other. Jimmy Butler and the Heat hate each other. You're just gonna swap.
Yep.
Just to get out from under that dark cloud. You're not doing anything basketball wise.
Well, that and Kyle, I'm like, I'm not taking back an extra year of Bradley Beal to give up Jimmy Butler. I'm not. Like Jimmy Butler
Jimmy's
has
got this year and a player option.
Player option next year.
Bill has 3 more years.
Bill has this year, next year, and then a player option at $55 million or something the year after. Nope.
As we always do on this program with that, we're gonna break the news now. Bill's picking that up.
Yeah, he already picked that up. Yeah, he like hired a plane to skywrite that thing right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, you get into these situations where changing your roster when you build around a player that ages out is so incredibly difficult.
It's really hard.
And I don't know how you avoid it. You know, like you can see, again, De'Aaron Fox wants this massive extension. And, you know, if the Kings are winning and De'Aaron Fox, like things are working and they built the team and De'Aaron Fox thinks that they can win potentially win a championship here in Sacramento, I think De'Aaron Fox, you can still salvage that situation.
I agree.
But the problem is that like De'Aaron Fox is under contract next season as well. And then he's going to have this contract that kicks in. If he makes all NBA, which is what he's hoping for, 35% of the salary cap. So he's going to be making like 55, 60, 65, 70, something like that's the number. And you're looking at him and going, okay, that's his 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 30. You know, you're okay. I'm okay with that contract. Get me to 33, De'Aaron Fox. I think he can hold up. But then these teams keep extending these superstar players at 33. This is why they had the 34, the age 34 rule in place. And so you wouldn't get into this situation with an aging star. They had capped how much they could make. Chris Paul went, no, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to become the president of the Players Association. We're going to get that thing out of there.
Checking the calendar real quick. I'm about to turn 35.
I'm
good.
Going to get my monies and that's it. That's like, it's a bummer because watching it play out like this, I'm with you. Like watching the Golden State Warriors, it's kind of sad. And we talked about it early in the season. I kept saying it's smoke and mirrors. And people are like, oh, you just hate the Warriors. Like, no, it's smoke and mirrors. Like good for Steve Kerr for keeping this thing going as long as he has, as with like the whole first half of the season. But eventually, like Steph Curry said the quiet thing out loud, like we're mid.
They're mid.
We're mid.
AF.
Not a good situation at all.
No.
And getting out of that situation is so difficult because every Warriors fan is like, oh, go trade for Jimmy Butler. 35-year-old Jimmy Butler. What is that going to do?
Pass. That's just changing stuff just to change stuff.
Yeah.
Which is what we talk about on the show all the time.
And if you're going to trade for 35-year-old Jimmy Butler, you should have just retained 35-year-old Klay Thompson.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like Thelma and Louise is saying, just all of you just get in a car and drive off a cliff together.
Yep. The vibes are up. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. He's Damian Barling.
I'm early. I just missed
No, that's fine. No, we love when you guys pop in. It's a handoff, a pause.
Major.
That's my bad. That's
all
my
right.
bad.
That's all right.
Did you? No. Okay, good. We're just kind of talking about and trade stuff.
Yeah.
The Warriors stinking.
Oof.
The Jimmy Butler situation.
That's a tough loss last night.
I saw that. Oh, come on!
Oh, there it is.
That's a late call. That's a late call. No, so I saw in the chat. I was just kind of checking in, see what. I see. Someone said Fox for Zion, and then someone said I would do Fox for Zion. Can we slam the brakes on this?
No, we're not doing that.
He did one 360 windmill dunk that was super cool. But
no,
what are we doing?
One, not that.
Not that.
Two, there is there is an interesting conversation to be had about what do the Pelicans do?
they're another team in a really hard spot.
Like, what do you do with Zion at this point? Because like you obviously you're risking trading him. You're risking if you trade him, but you're also risking if you hold on to him. It's a really tough spot that the Pelicans, and I guess David Griffin's going to continue to run that team. Like, it's a really tough spot that they're in. And I think there's something in our show to like, I think that's one of the league's most fascinating questions. What do the Pelicans do with Zion Williamson moving forward? Now, we can have fun, and I think we will, about like, okay, if the summer gets here, who's a hotter commodity, Zion Williamson or De'Aaron Fox? If you're flirting with the trade market,
sure.
But like, what the Pelicans do with Zion, I think it's fascinating.
They have a problem at almost every position.
Huge problem.
They have. I mean, again, Misi has been fun, but they have a hole at every single position. Like I really, or a complex situation at every position. Like I would love to have like the Brandon Ingram and who's their Trey Murphy like situation, but at the same time, not really, because you don't want to pay Ingram. You haven't traded him. His value is now almost nothing because he hurt his ankle, and you're waiting for him to come back and show everybody that he's healthy enough, and then he wants 35-40 million a year, and you don't want to pay that. Like, it's just so complex. Every position all around their court is complex.
The thing with Ingram, like at this point, you talk about his value, like, hitting kind of rock bottom, so to speak here. Does that even matter? Because we're talking about his value as a player. His value in terms of a contract hasn't changed. Like, you still have to find a way to, to collective bargaining agreement, make it work. And sometimes that's what the deal is. It's not the deal for the player and the skill set. It's the player for like, what can I do to match contracts? It's like, I think, and I get it. It's not working. I understand that. But Dennis Schroeder's a good ball player.
No doubt.
You were able to acquire him because you had a contract on a player that got injured. It wasn't about talent. It was about making money work. The value of Ingram's contract is still exactly as the same as it was. I mean, it's prorated, but it's
the
what
financial
it was at
value.
the beginning of the year. Yeah.
No, but the value of him as a player who now has 50 games of 45 games left, like, you're renting him, hoping that maybe he works out.
But you were probably doing that anyway, no?
Well, yeah, but if you would have traded him during the summer, then it's like
then he could have injured his ankle for you.
But you also could have already signed him to an extension. You would have already had more time to work all that stuff out. Now it's like it's a straight up $36 million rental.
Yeah,
and that's not great.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because in order to do that,
unless you have contracts you want to come off of.
But let's just say you're the Kings. In order to get to that, just that $36 million, you got to be within. They can't go above the hard cap, but you got to be within a certain dollar amount, right? You're talking Lyles, you're talking Kevin Huerter, you're talking Devin Harris, and then on top of that, Devin Carter, and then
Devin Harris, a good ball player,
good player.
You're probably gonna
sign him.
Throw in Colby Jones, right? So now that team's gonna have to cut multiple players in order to take a 4-for-1. That's the first thing that has to happen, and you've got up to that much. But on top of that, like, can anyone withstand losing like 3 rotational players?
Right. Yeah.
And on top of that, are you going to give up a guy who was just a 13th pick in the draft in order to get a guy that you don't know if you can re-sign in the offseason, or if you're not comfortable paying what you're going to pay him, what he wants in the offseason? And so his value to most teams is like very little.
Yeah.
So
that gets exactly what we were talking about. You can throw Brandon Ingram into the conversation with Brad Beal and Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry and anybody who might get any big money player who might get dealt. Like, you have to give up. So the Kings could acquire Brandon Ingram. If you're plugging Brandon Ingram in without trading anybody, like, yes, love the fit, great idea. But if you're plugging Brandon Ingram into a version of the Kings that doesn't have Trey Lyles, and doesn't have Devin Carter.
So let's take Brandon Ingram out of this, because I don't think that's even remotely appealing. I think we can have this same exact conversation with Cam Johnson.
Okay.
Who is a player I think Kings fans desperately want. And apparently it's a player that the Kings want. And what they're navigating is, what can we afford to give up to where Cam Johnson actually makes us better?
Right.
Because that's the point that you're making. You insert Cam Johnson on this team, boom, we're cooking. But, okay, you insert Cam Johnson on the team that doesn't have Trey Lyles anymore. doesn't have Kevin Huerter, might not have Devin Carter, or might not have pick whatever you have to make it work. Like now you have to ask yourself different questions.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And that's the point Kenny was making yesterday. Like if you're giving up Trey Lyles in the Cam Johnson deal, are you really better?
I think you are. But it depends on what else you're doing. If you're giving up 2 other players with him, that's probably too problematic.
Right.
If you can swing it to where it doesn't include Trey Lyles, then
now you're cooking.
Yeah, but
I would give up not that difficult.
But Kevin's not expiring, and so Devin Carter.
Yeah,
yes,
because that's the only other way it works, right?
But then you have this complexity. What if De'Aaron Fox asks out? And you're thinking, okay, well, maybe I can use Devin Carter as one of my top 3 rotational guards moving forward.
Yeah, that's tough for sure. Because you could absolutely, if you could,
I think
you could acquire anything you might have lost in this fictitious trade with Cam Johnson if you wound up trading De'Aaron Fox.
Well, but you're also worried that like what's the ripple effect? And yeah, it would change the dynamic of what you're looking for in a trade. Mm-hmm. If you have to trade Fox, mm-hmm. but also if you have Devin Carter, it's like, okay, well, maybe you're building around it. I'd also make the argument that, hey, Keon Ellis just made me think that mm-hmm. I'm okay trading Devin Carter.
I would agree.
Yeah, sure.
And I also
so complex.
This is
it's a lot. No, it is, and it's all hypothetical.
Here's what can't happen though. Mm-hmm. You can't, because they very obviously need to make improvements. Mm-hmm. What can't happen is nothing. Because
you're right. You're right.
Because then you're sitting there going,
you're right.
Like, cool, you didn't do anything.
You're right.
At some point you have to take a leap.
I'm critical of the front office, and you're right. You're 100% right. And this is what general managers figure out. But you can thumb through the Kings roster and their salary book and realize the DeAnthony Melton contract isn't there. If Kevin Huerter was expiring this year, I think there'd be a lot that the conversation could be very, very different.
Way different.
But he's not.
Mm-hmm.
And so who is the contract that a team would go, yeah, I'll take that $17 million, which disappears in June. Mm-hmm. I'll take that. The Kings literally don't have. They've got one, and no one wants to hear it, but it's Trey. Mm-hmm. Trey's the expiring contract.
And that's
so if it becomes, hey, sometimes I wish Monty would just come out. Look, they wanted Devin, Trey, Kevin, and a first for Cam Johnson. Did y'all want me to do that? No. Stop telling me how to do my job.
Yeah.
And I'd clap back. Well, do something.
Yeah, right.
Do
something
else.
Why
I even said like Lyles for Valanciunas. Man, you're going to trade a guy who can play 25 to 30 minutes at the 3 and the 4 for a guy who's going to be a backup center and only play 12 minutes and is under contract for 2 more years at $20 million after this year. That's tough.
Yeah. Really important 12 minutes though.
And that's where
that's a Domas off the floor to it. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but that's a really important 12 minutes.
And when you start talking about those expirings, because it's about assets. It's very rarely in these trades.
Yep.
It's not about the player and the basketball. It's about the assets. That's where, to me, I'm in not full F them picks mode, but I'm very close. Like if it means it's got to be unprotected.
I'm with
in
you.
2028. Cool. Get rid of it.
Game win streak has changed your thinking. It's changed my thinking on that.
Yeah, like cool. Then get rid. If they say, okay, fine, we won't take Trey Lyles, but we need an unprotected first whenever they can do one. Cool.
No,
have it.
F them picks right now.
Yes.
Do what you got to do. Yep. Get this done. Build the contender that you need for your best player to be your best player. If he doesn't like it, if he's not happy, fine. Guess what? You're getting multiple first-round picks back in a trade for De'Aaron Fox.
Exactly.
That's true.
That's exactly right. All right. What do you guys got coming up on D-Lo?
We're just going to keep having this
more Justin Verlander? Well, Justin Verlander too?
I didn't even. Is that a big deal?
Yeah, kind of.
Is it?
Like Giants on a
like,
Hall
is he
of Famer.
still
It's
Justin Verlander? I don't mean to be
not really.
No,
but it's interesting.
I mean, I have a lot of respect for him. I just don't.
It's not prime Justin Verlander.
He won the Cy 2 years ago.
It's not Blake Snow.
Yeah, but was he hurt last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He got a neck thing.
Yeah, and hey, on the way out the door, we do have some break. Clay.
Get to it quick. We got to go.
Clay Kubiak has been promoted to the offensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers.
Great. I'm going to go write about that. Check it out at NinersWire.com. D-Lo and KC coming up next. That's James. I'm Kyle. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. The Insider's back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Until then, drink water and be nice, people. See you, Chatty House. Appreciate y'all. Good